Welcome back to the tree shearing project, and this week we look at why we're doing it and is it worthwhile. Morning everybody, and welcome back to the channel on this a frosty Saturday morning. Right, I just wanted to show you where we've got to with this tree shearing operation and some added complications we've had. So here we are at the bottom corner. I'll show you this on the drainage map, and the point is, so we knew about this outlet here, and it's a rather weird situation whereby this on this side is my neighbour's field, so I suspect that he had a small field in the past, and that just trying to bridge it here, the boundary went through his field like this. So to make his field a bit bigger, he piped the ditch in. It's also why it's not very deep, and really that brings an interesting point. To be sure, he's mole ploughed this year, and look how shallow that is. That's probably only, I don't know, 30 centimeters deep. Not very deep at all. Okay, so that's an inlet there. That is our inlet, and I'm trying to do this out of the sun, but basically it runs diagonally across the field following this hedge line up to the top. So the interesting bit for us, going back in the ditch again, is this is our outlet, and so a bit of sediment comes out of here and it builds up, as you can see there. It's got a concrete base to it to help clear it out. So I asked my digger driver to take a scoop either side, and look what he found on the other side, another outlet which is actually running quite well, and interestingly enough doesn't appear to be on our drainage plans. So unfortunately we damaged it. Now on to we will pick up on that corner just over there. So fast forward 60 meters and we are now on the corner, just walking out into the field, and we've got a drain blowout. Now we try and go in the hole, and if we don't get licked by a Labrador on the way down, I want to see if it'll pick it up. You can see an old, get out, you can see it is a clay drain, so 1960s clay drain. It's just broken. Yeah. Again, a little bit deeper than next door, but I wouldn't say much more than sort of 60 centimeters. Right, so now we're the other side of the hole, and the line of the drain is coming at a slight angle. If we take that up, bam, into the side of this hedge. Now, interestingly enough, the drainage plan says this goes off to the side and then picks up with that drain that discharges where we just were in that corner. And you'd say, well, what's the relevance of that? Why are you worried? Well, we go into this hedge, so just to remember, it's my neighbour next door, and always interested in good neighbourly relations. So if we just have a look at the bottom of this hedge, you'll see it doesn't appear to be a ditch, it's just solid ground. However, if we try and find you a hole in my hedge, you will see he's got a bit of a lake in there, and I'm a bit worried that I might be responsible for that lake. So we will, he doesn't like his hedges being trimmed, sort of sheared, so in the interest of neighbourly relations, I need to contact him to get to explain why I'm interested in looking deeper into this problem. Fortunately, it's only probably, well, it's on the tram line, so it's probably 12 metres from that hole to the hedge. So worst case scenario, we could always just follow this pipe and just see where it goes. And in fact, that's an interesting point that it's right on the tram line, because look at that, right on the tram line, as in the breakage, because this is where the pipe is still active, whereas the break is probably right here, which is right on your tram line. And that really goes to show just how deep the compaction from tractors run. Right, we're going to, me and the doggies are going to walk round the boundary, so we will catch up with you again just about sort of there-ish. So we'll see you soon. Whilst we walk, I'll actually explain where I left off just then. Someone in the comments said, why am I only just maintaining these drains now? So we've done quite a bit on this field in the past. It's got a huge drainage scheme. It probably is a result of amalgamation of fields historically. We have only owned this field or this block for a couple of years. Before that, the landlord wasn't very keen on investing. Interestingly, it's long-term family ownership. The grandfather in the scenario, he was a very keen farmer and invested in this original drainage scheme and added to it a little bit as well. Then his son and grandson took over in succession, neither of which I would describe as keen farmers. And so we were in a situation where we had to make do. We've had a combine stuck in this field in the past, and although we mole plough regularly and we've done stuff like finding those outfalls, cleaning them out, we haven't really had the confidence or the budget to invest in this field. Although it was owned by a family, there was a bit of a family dispute running in the background, and so our tenure wasn't secure, so we weren't happy to invest. So going back to the story of the combine got stuck, and when we investigated the drain, because looking at the drainage map, there is a drain very close by, it was less than a metre away from the hole. And basically the nature of this field is, or the nature of the subsoil is, we are right on a change of soil type. So down here, this is Vale clay, and as we go along, that hedge line there indicates a line of springs that run all the way down this field, as it's something to do with a fault line where the Chiltern Hills to our right start to rise up, and really this marks, that hedge line here marks the change from Vale clay to the start of chalk. And our farm stretches, well, we farm either side of this break. So historically there have been a lot of springs, they pop up around this field. We've tried to, any time one pops up, what we try and do is just get a digger out and connect to the closest drain possible, land drain possible. It's quite an extensive network, so we've just done short runs. So we've done a fair amount of maintenance in the field. We have done the outflows and sediment traps around specifically around the outside as they relate to the drainage scheme. But what we haven't done is done any capital works around the outside of the field, which is why we are here now. So we're just reaching a corner, and it's a good point to switch over to capital investment. So previously we had a wild hedge on this side, and now we have it all tree sheared on this side. Previously I filmed it, before we started, I filmed it from the other side looking towards this corner, so I apologise I can't do a quite like for like, but I will do my best. Interestingly, one of the drivers for this was my neighbour's wish to re-fence, and the digger driver was complaining about all manner of rubbish put in the hedge to try and keep his animals in. And interestingly, he's only just recently taken control of the farm next door. Now, look at this for a fence. So, this is my hedge. and that's his fence. Yeah, it just doesn't exist at all. Yeah, there you go. So, no, oh, I lie. I misrepresent the fact. There is a fence post. There is a bit of mesh just on the inside. There's a bit of mesh, but yes, non-existent. So, all credit to him for wanting to fence it properly. And as you can see, this rampant hedge has grown out. What are we talking? Maybe I can pace it. Let's take this. This is a fair tree. So let's say that's a genuine tree. 1, 2, 3, 4 meters. So as you can see, with a lack of maintenance, the hedge has moved out. Right then, back to our story. So we haven't invested capital sums in this field because we were unsure about tenure. Now, as you've seen in the past, I spend quite a lot of money on drainage, and it would be a fair challenge to say, why are you in a low cost or low input, low output system, is there justification to spend on drainage? Well, we had a map and a test of that principle a couple of years ago, where we found where we've got a block of land that's never really suffered from drainage issues under a conventional system, but when we changed to low input, low output, we identified that there was a really serious drainage issue and drained it accordingly. And what I will try and do now is run some numbers just to show sort of the payback on that investment, because I would be interested to know.
As you can see here, I've used John Deere Op Center to draw a zone around the affected area. Extending the drainage scheme cost us £6,000, and the zone affected measures about 2.1 hectares. The yield gain was roughly 4.2 tonnes in the subsequent year, so we grew spring wheat in 2022 and again in 2023, so we've got a very comparable measure. The yield gain was 4.2 tonnes per annum at £185 per tonne, gives you a total gain of £777 per year, a payback of 8 years and a return on investment of 13%. Not too shabby.
This is actually symptomatic of sort of the decision we're struggling with when we are, let's say, doing remedial capital works. So we don't want to pre-sell this, but we say there's a bit of a ditch here, right? So we're talking ditch to the right of this tree stump, and the level kind of rises here. I look down to our famous fence post down there. Let's see if I can zoom in on the fence post. See our fence post there? There he is. Right, so keeping that in mind, as you can see, a lot of this hedge is growing possibly in the ditch. So the question becomes, was there ever a ditch here? Now that issue has happened a couple of times on this project, so we will show you other examples. But we knew there was a ditch here because we have a sediment trap or an inlet. So we've cleaned this bit out, and in fact, don't look too closely at all the damage. That's historical, when we really didn't have any idea where this was. But what we have done is we've come back and cleaned it out. And interestingly, look at that. There is water running out of the field, which tends to indicate to me that he's got a land drain. And actually, that would tend to relate, because if we look up here, oh gosh, we go out again. 2, 1, right. Water running there. We look up, bam. So another example where either a ditch has been filled in or he's piped in a ditch. So I suspect when we're making informed decisions on this land, some sort of historical field map would also be helpful to try and inform us of where hedges used to be, and so the likely route of drainage. Interestingly, I've asked him to cut out some cord. I don't know if it's cord or cord, but anyway, some nice ash has been harvested here, so we'll hopefully try and sell that as logs. Right, and he's done a fantastic job of this ditch. So returning to the story once more, when we've tried to clean out this ditch before, we've concentrated on just picking out sediment traps like the one up there. But the problem is with trees growing over, that it really affects the reach of the digger, and therefore we struggled with a small digger to really, we used to have an 8-tonner, and it just wasn't man enough for a project of this nature. And here we have, this is not the only example of this, where the height of the ditch, the water has a tendency to come over and flow through the field. So this is really what stimulated me to start this ridiculous large waste of money. But as you can see here, we've got drainage channels washing out into the field as a result of this high point here. So this is interesting because this is water from where we just were, coming in this direction, and actually look at it now. As you can see, even as we stand here, it is running out of my ditch and into my field. So we are not sorted out here. Look at the deer going. That's quite a rate. No deer. So why is this running out? Because this outfall is without doubt blocked here. We dug it out this yesterday. I think the only solution is to come back with a drain jetter and jet this. Exciting. So interestingly enough, this is a big issue, this drain. This is the one that I looked at recently, and as we go up this hillside, there's actually a lot of water coming down here. So we have cut back this hedge twice before, in order to clean out this ditch. So we've invested quite heavily in this ditch historically, and as you can see, it's relatively easy to maintain because of that historical maintenance. There's very little stuff growing on that side. It's all away from the hedge edge or the ditch edge, and we've got a good surface to work from here we've moved the spool away. It's quite a nice run, this. All this water is coming from my neighbour, so I don't really have any control over this water. Again, thank you to him for the permission to do this works. There's a good example where there's a bit of barbed wire above that sheared stump, but his fence is non-existent, so I think he's going to have an interesting investment opportunity as we keep going. So, returning to the challenge of low input, low output and investing in drains, I don't think it matters whether it's low input farming or conventional. The best return we get on money invested is in land drainage, without a shadow of a doubt. And also, I think we need to be realistic that drains put in the 60s, even if they have been well maintained and the outfalls have been kept clean, they are coming to the end of their operational lives. We've got to acknowledge that these drains are now 60 years old. Those clay tile drains are coming to the end of their life. We're having to invest in modern plastic equivalent, but you're certainly not going to do that where you haven't got tenure over a field. So hence why we tend to concentrate on owned fields first, and then if landlords will support it, we put new drains in, but it's usually done on an emergency field is unfarmable basis. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell to get notifications, and leave us a comment. Love to pick up on your thoughts.